ago, there has not been any updates thus far with what's going on in the golf world, but we do hope to be back sooner rather than later. And we will definitely keep the membership updated as we get more information from as to what is going on. So today we are, like I said, we're going to be going over some formatting, handicapping, and rules. As we go through this, I'm sure there's going to be many questions from everybody. So we do welcome all questions. Feel free to put them in the chat at any time. And what we'll do is we will go through some questions at the end of each of our segments. With so much information, instead of going through everything at the end, we'll go through it in little pieces as we make our way through the day. Also, if there's any questions that extend beyond what we're going to cover today, feel free to reach out to any of our staff. There's so much to go over, and not necessarily all the time, because these are topics that we can go on with for hours and hours. So without further ado, I'm going to share my screen, and I'm going to pull up a little bit of a PowerPoint, and we can get ourselves started into the fun world of handicapping, formatting, and rules. All right, Adrienne, feel free to take over.
All right, awesome. Thank you, Dan, for that. And thank you everyone for taking the time to join us on this amazing talk that we're going to have today. So as Dan mentioned, we're going to break it down into format, handicapping, and rules. I myself will be covering the formats. So there's obviously a lot of different formats and different games to play when you're out there having fun or having a little competition. So we're going to break it down for you today. So the first format that we have here is called a stroke play, probably the one we're most familiar with when it comes to our daily rounds. So this is a format where all the shots are accounted for one or more rounds. So let's give an example of a tournament, a 4-day round. All those shots are going to be accounted for. Unfortunately, we do have to count each and every one. It would be nice just to say, yeah, I got a 4, even though we're going to miss those other 2 shots that we didn't really like. So as the example here, if your playing partner or opponent makes a 6 and you're hitting your 7th shot, you have to continue until you finally put the ball into the hole. Our second form of play is called the match play. It's a little bit different from stroke play. It's a format where it can be played in teams or individually. And the idea is to have the lower score of the 2. So between you and your playing partners, a point is earned for each hole that you do win. So if you're playing hole number 1, let's say you and your playing partner go about, you make a 4 on that hole and your partner makes a 5. You've now won that hole, so you're 1 up. You win the next hole, 2 up. Unfortunately, you've lost the next hole, 1 down, and then it moves so on and so forth. So the idea is to win as many holes as possible throughout the round. This is my favorite, the scramble. This is when you're playing in a group of 4 or 3, 2. This is when you all play your first shots together and you decide from there which shot is the best. So you could have a nice ball in the fairway and the rest of you have gone left and right everywhere but you'd like to be. You can actually take your ball and go to that shot in the middle, and it's a team score as well. So you're all playing from the same spot till you get to the hole until you finish the hole, but you're all playing from that exact same position. Alternate shot. This one's pretty fun. Hopefully you're playing with someone you do enjoy playing with, because it can be pretty frustrating at some points. But you're playing as a team. You and your partner will play each other's ball essentially. So you hit your drive, your partner will play your second shot, and so on and so forth until the ball is in the hole. 4-ball or best ball. This is another format that I do rather enjoy myself. So everyone will play their own balls throughout the round. Rather than alternating shots, you're playing your own ball. Each hole will be won by the team member who has the lowest score. So if everyone plays their own ball and you have 7, 7, 6, 5, 5 will be the score that you take for the hole. Stableford. This is also a fun one to play in teams and in groups. So it is a stroke play event that can be played as an individual or a team using a point system. So we have done this in the past, the 3 years, well, 2 years that I have worked there at Ladies. It's, like I said, a point system. So you play. If you make a bogey, unfortunately, that's more than a bogey, it's 0 points. 1 over, which is a bogey, is 1 point. Even par will be 2 points. Birdie will be 3 points. Eagle, 4 points. Double eagle, which would be absolutely amazing, 5 points. And 4 under would be 6 points. So it's just a fun little game. Even if you don't want to play in the event like this, if you have a foursome that you're really comfortable with and you want to have a good time, try all these different formats. You know, you don't have to be so official. This can just be a fun little game to play together. And I think that covers the main formats that we wanted to cover today. There's obviously so many more. We could spend hours on each of these topics, and obviously we don't want to take up too much of your time, but if you do have questions about any other kind of formats or what we went over, please feel free to share. We will do our best to answer as much as we can. But if not, the next topic is handicapping.
Awesome. Thank you, Adrienne.
Thank you.
Like Adrienne said, there is an opportunity if anybody has any questions, feel free to type them into the chat about formatting or raise your hand. There's so many different formats and it goes beyond what Adrienne just explained there. These are some common formats that I'm sure many of us are familiar with in our regular daily golf. But I know even when we go out and play that there's so many more, and there's some small little fun games that you can play, and there's more than just one way to play golf. There's tons that we can do to enjoy it, and I invite everybody to take an opportunity to explore these different versions of playing and have fun with their friends when they're out there. And if you want to learn any new games, feel free to ask me, any of our professional staff. I'm sure everybody has their own variations of different games. So I haven't seen any questions yet, so I'm going to carry on with our handicapping section. This is when stuff gets exciting. This is when we dig away at the numbers a little bit more. I know throughout the golf season we get so many questions about handicapping and what goes on. So hopefully this part kind of answers those questions a little bit for you. Well, I'm going to pause for a sec. I'm sorry, we do have a question coming in about the formats, and I want to cover those before we move forward. If you're playing one of the formats for fun, do you enter a score afterwards? Your scores get entered based on the type of format you're playing. This is actually going to be covered in the handicapping portion. There's a little video that we have coming in about this, but there are certain formats that we do post for and certain formats that we don't. If you're playing for fun, what needs to be kind of what we do is we'll kind of call that a practice round, but we need to be careful with how we treat those. If we're teeing it up and labeling it as a practice round, but then go out and have the best round of our life, and then go and post that, it kind of changes the purpose of it. So we can't just post based on the convenience for us, but if it's a round for fun, we actually have to carry through and say that that is a round for fun and do not enter a score. There's different formats, but like I said, we'll have a video coming forward with that information. So thank you for your question. But as I was saying, so as we dive into the handicapping world, there's so many different small aspects to cover and so many questions that we receive throughout the golf season. So I'm really hoping that these videos that I have coming up can help answer those questions for you, and help us get to the bottom of a lot of that stuff. So here we go. And just so I can kind of give background on these videos, they are from Golf Canada, and Golf Canada is a great source for all sorts of information regarding rules, handicapping, formats. So I invite everyone to check out their YouTube channel and see what they have to offer, because there is more than what I will be showing today.
Daniel, I think the sounds, we're not getting sound.
I think it was
there
just
no audio
music
there?
playing.
Did
There was no talking over any of that. It was just music, and then
If
just
you-
the
if-
words were being.
Yeah. Did you get the music there?
No, there's no sound at all.
Okay. Hopefully I can
I got-
fix that for our next one. Okay.
I got nothing.
Thank you for the update. It was just music in that video, everybody. So there, you didn't miss anything. It was just a little bit of music to go along with it. I will get that in for the next video. My apologies. Let's get the next video. So that video there kind of, it just went over the basic of handicapping, how your handicap is created. I'm sure when many of us have been online to post scores or look at our handicap, whatever it may be, we see all these numbers all over the place and we aren't exactly sure what they all mean. So hopefully that video kind of explained a little bit of what those numbers mean. The key number there being the differential. And that differential is calculated based on your score, your handicap, and the difficulty of the golf course that you are playing. Another fun fact about the handicap as I carry on, the reason we develop these handicaps and the reason we use them is because golf is the only game or sport in the world that we can play the best player in the world and the worst player in the world at the same time and still create a fair game. You can't really do that with other sports such as hockey or basketball. So it's just a really cool system that's been developed for us to use. I'm going to carry on with another video and let's see if I can get audio in for you this time. I think this is the same one. I'm sorry. Let's see if we can figure this out. So that second video that we saw there, that video is explaining what's called net double bogey. And I'm sure many people have heard about the equitable scoring control in the past, which limited golfers to a certain score on every hole. But that has changed now. It's no longer called equitable score control, but we just call it net double bogey. And what this does is allows golfers to have bad moments. The golf or the world handicap system recognizes that everybody has a bad hole here or there, and someone who's a certain handicap shouldn't have their whole handicap kind of destroyed just because they had one really bad blow up hole. So this net double bogey system allows us to have those holes and not account for them when calculating our handicap. As you saw in that video, then the net double bogey system is calculated using par +2 plus your received strokes on that given hole. From there, you'll get your respective number, and that'll kind of tell you what your limit is. Using that number, you will know what you cannot score over. So when you go to post a score into Golf Canada or GG Golf, you'll see that there's often an option to post your adjusted gross score. That adjusted gross score is generated using your net double bogey system. Your adjusted gross score would be your new score created with a net double bogey. So for example, if my net double bogey on a hole was an 8 and I took a 9, my gross score would incorporate that 9 into it, but my adjusted gross score will take the 8 into it, where I can make my necessary adjustments. So I have some scorecards here, and I'm going to show everybody how we can, 1, figure out where we receive our strokes, and 2, how we can incorporate the net double bogey system. So this is just our ladies scorecard, the one that we use every day when we play our wonderful course. So I put my own name in there at a 10 handicap. And from here, if we want to figure out which strokes we receive, all we're going to do is use these stroke holes on the scorecard. So for me, we would use the stroke holes at the bottom of the scorecard because I would go by the men's stroke holes. And what I'm going to do is put a dot on every hole for the first 10 numbers that we see. So on the stroke holes, we have numbers 1 through 18. On numbers 1 through 10, that's where I'm going to put my dots. The 1 through 10 representing my handicap. These numbers at the bottom there, they actually represent the difficulty of each hole. So there's 18 of them. Number 1 being the hardest hole on the golf course, and number 18 being the easiest hole on the golf course. You'll also notice that all the even numbers are on one side of the golf course on the back 9, and all the odd numbers are on the front 9. This is to allow for an even 9-hole game as well. So for me, I would go and I would, using the system, I would dot up my stroke holes, and there they are. So if you look, I'm going to use my cursor, and if you can follow along with it, I have dotted, so the first hardest hole right there, and then the second hardest, and we carry on and do that for the first 10 hardest holes. If I were a 20 handicap, this is what my scorecard would look like. The big thing that we notice here now is we have more than 1 dot on some holes. That's because I'm over 18. 18 is our 1 stroke per hole kind of system. So what I would do here is once I've used all 18 dots, then I'm going to put a second dot on the next hardest hole. Go back to the beginning again. So go back to the first hardest hole, which is hole number 6 for me. And I get 2 dots. And the second hardest hole would be hole 14, and that would get 2 dots as well. I hope that that's not too much. I know it's a system that a lot of people have developed before, but this is kind of just how we determine where we're going to get our shots. So now moving forward into the net double bogey aspect of that, we go back to par +2 plus our strokes received. So we'll take a look at hole number 6. Right now, if I was playing to a 20 handicap and I was receiving 2 strokes there, we're going to simply go par, which is 4, +2, so we're at 6, plus the strokes received, which on hole number 6, I would be getting 2 shots. So that gives me a grand total of 8. 8 is my maximum number that I can take on hole number 6. If I make any score higher than 8, I get to incorporate it into my gross adjusted score later on. Now I've created a scorecard here with our professional team. We're all playing to different handicaps. We can be playing this as an individual or a team event, but I want everybody to see what it looks like now when we're playing what's called playing off of one another. So what happens here is we have Mitch. Mitch is our lowest handicap in this situation. He's playing to a 5 handicap. Instead of Mitch receiving 5 strokes and then Adrienne receiving 7, me receiving 10, and Adrienne receiving 12, what we would do is we would actually zero out Mitch. So Mitch would drop to a 0, and everybody would play the respective difference off of him from there. So in this situation, Mitch turns from a 5 to a 0, but that means Adrienne also drops 5 strokes as well to a 2. And I go to a 5, and Aiden plays to a 7. This is also another thing that we've done in much of our match play and many of our team formats at Ladies Golf Club. This is how you would play team formats and play off of each other. So I'm sure a lot of you have seen it, but for those of you who haven't, I hope you can understand this. So from here, if we go to put our dots in place, that's what it would end up looking like. Mitch actually has 0 dots. Although he's a 5 handicap in that situation, he's playing with 0 dots, and everybody else has just reduced the number that they would be getting. Okay. So I have one more video for you, and this kind of touches on the question a little bit earlier about posting with different formats.
I'm not getting sound, Daniel.
So that was that last video there that touched more upon that question that we were speaking of earlier, and what kind of formats can we post with, when are we allowed to post, when are we not allowed to post. There's also different times of the year that we are allowed to post scores and when we're not allowed to post scores. And I think in Ontario, if I'm not mistaken, April 15th was opening day for posting any scores. So anything you've played after that, you should post a score for, and anything that was played before that, you don't need to worry about it. There's also a closing day in Canada and in each of the respective regions for posting, and there's a day that when you don't need to post anymore. Fairly new to Golf Canada as well is the ability for the golf handicap system to account for weather and course playing conditions. And kind of as it's determining your differential for that day, it'll recognize whether the course was playing harder or easier for the day due to length of cut or speed of the greens or the weather outside, whatever it may be. But it's able to recognize these different things and incorporate that into the system. It's a really cool feature because it allows us to play in whatever conditions we want without having to worry too much about our handicap being affected too significantly for it. That kind of comes to an end with the handicapping section for the presentation part that I wanted to provide everybody with, but I'm going to guess that there's some questions to go along with this. So feel free to start throwing those into the chat and I'll be glad to pick away at them and answer them. So one of the first questions I see here is asking about the differential. Is the differential the same as the handicap factor? The differential is not the same as the handicap factor. Your handicap factor is an average of your best 8 differentials in your last 20 rounds of golf. And that's how we determine it. So and that's what your handicap accounts for, is your best 8 out of your last 20. Just a few years ago, it was your best 10 out of your last 20, but Golf Canada has changed that, and it's more beneficial and more fair to the system to only account for 8. Let's keep going through this. Should scores be entered into the Golf Canada app or GG Golf? The two programs are linked with one another, so you are welcome to post on either platform. I think the GG Golf platform is pretty good. I think if you're posting through the GG Golf platform, you don't need to worry about getting the emails telling you that you haven't posted. I believe if you're going through Golf Canada, GG Golf doesn't quite pick it up properly and it doesn't communicate 100%, but I can look into that for you. And the GG Golf platform is just a good spot to use on that app because it allows you to work with your posting, but you're not, as well as your tee times, your tournaments and your draws and everything else going on at the club. So it's a good space for your all-in-one. How does it work when I don't have a handicap because I'm a new golfer? That's a great question. There's always new golfers coming to the game and always people looking for a handicap. So we can actually develop a handicap after just a few rounds. Golf Canada has developed or the World Handicap System, I should say, has developed new systems that allow us to get golfers more involved in the handicap system as soon as they've started. It's not a 100% accurate number yet until you've played a little bit more, but I'm sure we can get you there. In the meantime, it's just about posting your score and getting that handicap to get more accurate over time. As far as having an account, you can just reach out to myself or any of our professional team. We're happy to get you set up with Golf Canada. We do that for all of our new members, and we can get you set up in the Golf Canada and GG Golf system to have scores posting for you and get you playing some of the club events with everybody. Does the GG Golf system automatically take into account a max score per new system? Example, does one have to put down adjusted score? So yes, it does if you are posting by hole. So what the question is there is when you're posting your score, will Golf Canada or will the GG Golf system automatically account for Golf Canada's net double bogey system where you have a maximum score on each given hole? GG Golf and Golf Canada both recognize the system. However, you need to post hole by hole. The system cannot pull out which holes you've maxed out on if you're just posting a total score. Hole by hole posting is also a great way for you to get your own stats for game improvement and game development if that's what you want to focus on. So there's so many more benefits than just the handicap side. So hole by hole is always a great option for you. Still got questions coming in. Keep them coming. I'm happy to answer all of these for everybody. That's a good point to make. So at the club, what's going to happen is there are minimum requirements for certain events for your handicap posting percentage, meaning if you've played 10 games and you've posted your score for 8 games, you have a posting percentage of 80%. The system can track how often you've posted and can give us these percentages. With the minimum percentage requirements, you need to constantly be going in to either post a score or write a reason for why you have not posted. So when you've played in a club scramble, or if you've played in an alternate shot event, or even if you were on the tee sheet for the day and only went out for 7 holes or something, there's an option in the GG Golf system where you can, on the left-hand side of the screen, there's an option for handicaps, and you can click into there and it'll say games played, and in brackets, reason for no score, reason for not posting a score, something along those lines. If you go in there and click the round you want to deal with, it will give you a drop down of options as to why you did not play or why you did not post. And there's things such as did not play within the rules, played 2 balls, played less than 7 holes, many different options in there. So whenever you're playing a round of golf that does not follow within the posting rules, then make sure you go in there so that we can keep your percentages as high as we can, so we can have you playing in as many club events as we can. We just want to keep the game fair and accessible to everybody in that sense. How to post a score if only 15 holes are played? That is a great question. So I'm going to rewind our PowerPoint for a second here. Get over to a blank scorecard, or we can use this one. So if only 15 holes are played, what you do for holes 16, 17, and 18 is we use a system where we kind of allocate you a score. So what you do for each given hole is you're going to take your par plus your strokes given, or your strokes received, and that's going to be your new score. So for example, on hole 16, par is 3. I wouldn't be receiving any strokes on hole number 16, so I would just be taking a par. It's like a guessed score that I made a par there. On hole 17, same thing, no strokes. And on hole 18, the same thing, no strokes. If there were a situation where I was getting a shot on hole 16, well, I would take my par plus that stroke received for a total of 4, and that's what I would take on hole number 16. I believe the minimum to post the score on 18 holes is 12. I think on an 18 hole, to post an 18 hole round, you have to play a minimum of 15 holes, if I'm not mistaken. I will clarify that. So someone would like some clarity on how we have so many different handicaps. When we look in our handicap system, there's so many different things we see there. And there can sometimes be more than one number. And you're wondering, well, how do I have so many different handicaps as one golfer? As explained earlier, the handicap system accounts for how difficult the golf course that you're playing is. But also within one golf course, we have many different difficulties of where to play the golf course from. So there's all the different tee decks, right? And at ladies, we have our purple or orange, red, green, yellow, and blue. Each of these are going to have different difficulties allocated to them. So if it's an easier tee deck that you're playing from, your handicap is going to reflect that. And your handicap is going to be different than what it would be from a harder tee deck. So your handicap from the blue versus the purple could have a very significant shot difference in how many you're receiving per round. Just want to be mindful of time. Okay, we're going to go questions for a couple more minutes here because we do have to move over to rules, and there's going to be just as many questions pouring out on that end. How do new golfers without handicaps apply the net bogey system if they don't know how many strokes they get per hole? That is a fantastic question. I do not have the answer for you right now, but I'd be happy to look into that and I'll get back to you. Let me write that down. So we wanted to find out the net double for new golfers. I will definitely look into that because that's a very interesting question. We would like the clarity why we changed someone from a 5 to a 0 when figuring out, when I was saying playing off of somebody. So let's get over to that slide. Okay. So there it is. So what we did here is we took our lowest handicap golfer, which was Mitch. Because Mitch was a 5, instead of giving Mitch 5 strokes, being the lowest player, he automatically goes to a 0. Now, Mitch's handicap being a 5, that's actually going to get deducted off of the remaining players' handicap. So Adrienne, we deducted 5 from her 7, giving her then a 2. Deducted 5 off of my 10, giving me a 5, and we deducted 5 off of Aiden's 12, giving him a 7. When entering scores for playing the A holes at Ladies Golf Club, please make sure that you go through and you're posting a score for the Ladies 9 golf course. You'll have the option when posting a score at the Ladies Golf Club of Toronto to check off a 9-hole box. That is not the correct way of posting if you played the A holes. The A holes are identified as a whole different golf course within Golf Canada and GG Golf, and that golf course is called Ladies 9. So make sure you're posting that. If you do play out to Bayview and you play the 9 holes that direction, you can post using the Ladies Golf Club of Toronto and checking off the 9-hole box. They're identified as different golf courses. If you played 9 holes by yourself, no witnesses, can you still post your score? You can always post a score, but just make sure you're reading all the options on the Golf Canada. And there is an option that says played alone, and you check that box. And I don't think that Golf Canada actually ends up taking the score. I'm not exactly sure what happens, and I can get clarity on that as well. Jamie has posted an awesome link. For those who have not established a handicap, it is par plus 5. There's a link here from the USGA with some great information on that. So now that I've kind of rambled on for a good amount of time here about handicapping and all these different numbers, I would like to pass this over to Mitch so he can get started on the rules section. Well, that's a very good question. How can we convey to people in a gentle way that they can pick up their balls? That's a great question. There's many different tactical ways that we can do this, but I think the number one piece is helping everybody understand the impact that it may have on the pace of play or the environment of golf, to not be picking up your ball all the time when the time has come. I'm going to cut it off there. Sorry, as I was in the middle of handing it over to Mitch. There's going to be so many more questions about handicapping, and I'm sure we can talk about this for such a long time. And our professional team was laughing about that earlier, and we knew that between handicapping and rules that we could talk for 10 hours if we wanted to. So feel free to contact any of us, and we'd be happy to help you, provide you with links, videos, different sources of information so that you can all learn about how the handicap system works or any of these other systems. So without taking up any more of your time, I'm going to allow Mitch to carry on. Mitch, I'm just going to get this moving forward. And I know you just had a few things to say before we started showing some videos.
Hi, everybody. Okay, so I'm going to talk about rules, specific rules today. I can't go over all of them because it would take too long. So we're going to talk today about rules 16, 17, and 18. Rule 16 is free relief, relief from abnormal course conditions. Rule 17 is penalty areas. And rule 18 is lost ball or out of bounds and when we can hit a provisional ball. So we're going to go over these three rules for today, okay? So rule 16 is relief from abnormal course conditions, free relief. So rule 16 covers when and how you may take relief by playing a ball from a different place, such as when you have interference from course condition or a dangerous animal condition, or a relief if your ball is embedded, okay? It's what we call free relief. So abnormal course conditions cover a few things: burrowing animal holes, ground under repair, immovable obstructions like cart paths, shelters, benches, temporary water, used to be called casual water. Now the new term since 2019 is temporary water. Embedded ball, if you're playing in after some rain, and the course is soft and your ball becomes embedded, if it breaks the surface of the ground and goes into the ground, it's considered embedded, and you don't have to play it from there. You're allowed relief from there. Dangerous animal conditions exist when an animal near your ball could cause you serious injury if you had to play the ball as it lies. Fire ants, alligators, bears, snakes. Yeah, you are allowed to pick up your ball, go to nearest relief, and play from there. You don't have to play it next to alligators, okay? Relief can be taken from the nearest point of relief, one club length, no nearer to the hole, okay? And I'll have some videos after I'm done. There's a couple of videos to show you how to take relief. How do we proceed? Okay, so relief can be taken in a bunker, but you must remain in the bunker. Okay, so let's say you have a puddle in the bunker, your ball is in the puddle. You can get relief from that temporary water, but you must stay, when you drop your ball from nearest relief, you must stay within the bunker. If that's not possible, if there's no place you could drop the ball in the bunker without getting closer to the hole, you would have to you can drop outside the bunker, but you get a one-stroke penalty. And that's rub of the green. If there's no place to drop within the bunker, you can't play, and your ball's in the bunker and you can't play it. If you take it out, it's one-shot penalty. You can drop, your feet can be outside of the bunker, but the ball, and when you drop and the ball is in the bunker, that's okay. But you can play the ball with your feet outside of the bunker. Only the ball has to be in the bunker. A player always has the option of playing the ball as it lies. If your feet are on the cart path, but you have a beautiful lie in the rough and you ball's nicely laying there and you want to play it from there, you always have that option. You do not have to take relief if you don't want to. Relief is allowed in what is called the general area. Okay, the general area of the course is pretty much the whole course except teeing ground on the hole you're playing, penalty areas, bunkers, and putting greens. Well, bunkers we just went over has a special rule for it, and the putting green has special rules for it. They're different areas. Everywhere else on the course, you're allowed free relief. Okay. All right. So though that's in general the general term, the general rule there, and I'll show you 2 videos here to show you how to find your nearest point of relief and how to drop your ball. Let's hope we have sound. Oh. Okay. Got sound? I think you're the only one who has sound. Okay, so we've marked our ball. What we're going to do is we're going to take our stance and see where the ball is. Okay, so I've marked my ball. I picked up my ball. I'm going to take the club I'm going to use. I'm going to take my stance and I'm going to mark where the ball would be. Okay, so that's where I have relief. I would mark that spot. Now, from that spot where I've put the tee down, I get 1 club length. Okay, so that's my nearest point of relief to where the ball was. And I get 1 club length from there. And I mark that. And then, so I get a semicircle. Whoop, they're working? No, I still don't have any sound. Okay, so I get a semicircle, 1 club length semicircle between those 2 tees. And I go knee height and I drop it on the ground, and now my ball's in play. Okay, that's taking relief from the cart path. Okay, and I can go close to the tee as long as the ball lands in the drop area and stays in the drop area. It's in play. If the ball would hit the ground in the drop area, roll out of the drop area, you get the redrop. You drop twice, and if it happens twice, you get to place it where the ball hit the ground. Okay, so you can't see, there's a tree. I'm on hole number 11 on the right hand cart path, and there's that tree by the water there. So if within that club length you can get a little bit closer towards the fairway, that's allowed. Okay, now is that the second one? Let's see. Okay, I think, okay, yeah, this is the second one. Okay, so, okay, closest point of relief. Okay, now let's imagine the ball is on the other side of the cart path and I was left-handed. Okay, so I would take my stance, and my point of relief would be where the ball is, not where my feet are. Okay, so that's because I'm left-handed now. So I go to that side, and then I would do the same thing on the other side. I'd go left-handed, and I'd mark that spot. Okay, so whichever tee is closest to the ball is my nearest point of relief. Okay, so it's the first tee I dropped would be closer to the ball, and so my relief would be on the closest to the ball. Now, if the ball's on the other side of the cart path, now my closest point of relief changes, because I do the same exercise. That tee is now further away from the ball than this one. So my relief would be on the, as we're looking at the image there, on the left side. Okay, because that is my closest point of relief. You always get relief to your nearest point of full relief. Okay, you can't get to pick which side you want to go to. It's always the nearest point of full relief. Okay, all right. That's for free relief. Now we'll go to penalty areas, Rule 17. Rule 17 is a specific rule for penalty areas, which are bodies of water or other areas defined by the committee where a ball is lost or unable to be played from. For a one-stroke penalty, you may use specific relief options to play a ball from outside the penalty area. Penalty areas are defined either red or yellow. They are marked by stakes or, whoop, want to pause it, Daniel? Okay, thanks. All right. Penalty areas are defined by red or yellow. They are defined by stakes. You can see one there behind me, a yellow stake and or red stakes, or sometimes there's lines on the ground or a spray paint, okay, either red or yellow. Which penalty area your ball lands in, either yellow or red, affects what options you have. With a yellow penalty area, we have 2 options. With a red penalty area, we have 3 options. We have an extra option. Okay, so for a yellow penalty area, a player may take stroke and distance relief by playing the original ball or another ball from the relief area from where the previous stroke was made. So we can hit the ball from, if like we hit the ball from the tee, we always have the option of hitting it, with a 1-stroke penalty, hitting 3 from the tee. That's what's called a stroke and distance penalty. A player may take a back on line relief by dropping the original ball or another ball in the relief area on a reference line going through the point of entry and the flag on the straight line. This is what this video is going to show. So let's. So nobody's hearing anything, right? Nobody? No? Okay. So I'm just going to narrate. Okay. So we're going to mark our point of entry. So we've gone into the water hazard. We've found or we marked a T. Can you back it up a little bit? Just can you? Yeah. Okay. All right. I'm going to put the T down. Okay. Okay. So that's going to be. I'm going to mark our point of entry here with the T on the ground. Okay. So that's our point of entry. That's reference point. And then we're going to keep that point. We're going to go back on that line between the flag, that point. We're going to go back on a straight line from there. That's going to be our going back on the line that our line of entry. Okay. So I'm going to back up. There's moving, talking. Yep. Okay. There we go. So I'm going to go back on that line. And I'm going to put a T down. So that's in line with the flag, my point of entry. That's all in a straight line. So from this point, from this T, I'm allowed 1 club length in all directions. Okay. And that's going to be my drop area. Okay. And so 1 club length in that direction. 1 club length in that direction. And it ends up being a 2 club length semicircle, and you're allowed to drop in that semicircle. Okay. And again, the ball has to land in the semicircle and stay in the semicircle. That ball's in play for a 1-stroke penalty. Okay. So the added, can you stop it? Yep. Okay. We're going to go to the last one after this. Okay. So the added option for for a red penalty area, those first two options apply also. Plus, with the added third one, where player may take lateral relief, red penalty area only. The reference point for taking lateral relief is the reference point where the ball enters the penalty area, 2 club lengths from that point. The reference point is determined where the ball enters the penalty area. No relief applies when your ball is in the penalty area. So if your ball is in the penalty area, anything we went over before on Rule 16 does not apply anymore. Okay, and so you can't embed a ball. If your ball's embedded in a penalty area, that's just too bad. If there's casual water, you're in the penalty area. Well, it would be the water hazard. But so no relief from inside of either yellow or red penalty area. And if there is a drop zone available, even if it is closer to the hole from where your ball went into the penalty area, you still have the choice to go to that drop zone. And you always have the option, if you have a swinging stance, to try and get it out from the penalty area. Okay, so just start the video. We're going to do the 2 club length lateral hazard from the red penalty area. Okay, so we're going to find our point of entry. We're going to mark it with the T. Stop talking. All right. Put the T down. Let's go. We all know it's coming. Okay. Fast forward. Okay. I'm basically just explaining what I just explained. So, all right. Yep, we can do that. Okay, so that's going to mark my point of entry. My ball's in the hazard. Okay, so yes, on the in the yellow and red penalty area, you can always go back on the line of your point of entry. That's what I'm explaining there, actually. Yes, on red too. So I could go, like, I'm just mark my point of entry. I could go around the corner there, and in my line of between the flag and the my entry, I could go back on that line also. You can do that on where possible on the red penalty area. So I just marked off my two club length, and anywhere in that section there that's outside of the penalty area, that 2 club length semicircle, or now it's a pie shape, but because the penalty area is there, and I drop my ball and my ball's back in play. Okay, so that covers penalty areas. And yes, even on a red penalty area, you can go back on the line. Okay. All right. Rule 18, stroke and distance for a lost ball or out of bounds. Rule 18 covers taking relief under a penalty of stroke and distance when your ball is lost outside a penalty area or comes to rest out of bounds. The required progression for playing from the teeing area to the hole is broken. You must resume the progression by playing again from where the previous stroke was made. This rule also covers how and when to play a provisional ball. When your ball has gone, when you think your ball might be lost, there's thick bushes, you're not sure if you're going to find it, you can hit a provisional ball. A ball is lost if it is not found within 3 minutes of the time when you or your caddy get to where you think your ball is lost. Okay, it doesn't start when you hit from the tee, it starts from when you get to where you think your ball is. 3 minutes from there, if you don't find it within 3 minutes, the ball is lost. A ball is out of bounds if the entire ball is out of bounds. If sometimes there are painted white lines on that denote the out of bounds, if your ball is partly on the line, but partly over the course, it is in bounds. The ball has to be completely out of bounds. The ball has to be, if the ball is half on the line, and it doesn't have to be touching the course, if the round part of the ball is over the course, it's in bounds. And the line that denotes the reference point for out of bounds is the inside mark of the line. Okay, the course side of the line is in bounds. Okay, if there's no painted line, it would be a string between the 2 posts, the 2 stakes that demark the out of bounds. It would be a line between those 2 stakes, and the inside part of that line would be the line that that denotes the out of bounds line. So if you think you're out of bounds or you think your ball is lost, you can hit a provisional. A player, okay, so how do we hit a provisional? We must announce to our playing partners that we are hitting a provisional for lost ball or out of bounds before we take a stroke. Okay, before we hit that provisional, we have to announce that we are. We just can't take a ball out, tee it up, and let her go. If we don't announce it's a provisional, that second ball that we played becomes the ball in play, even if we find it, or if we're not sure. So if we're not sure, announce that you're playing a provisional before you hit that shot. Okay, that covers it for rules 16, 17, and 18.
Thank you, Mitch. And thank you everybody for bearing with us. The sound wasn't coming through there. Technology doesn't seem to always hold up the way we want it to. But Mitch did a great job at trying to explain what was kind of happening in those videos, and I hope the messages made it across. So being as mindful of everyone's time as possible, I do want to open the floor to some questions. This is another one of the categories where we can go on with the Q&A for a few hours. So we'll try to limit this to just a handful, and then we can have everybody enjoying the rest of their Wednesday afternoon. So is there anything that people want to put in the chat? So I see there's a question here regarding going back as far as you want on the line of entry. I think Mitch had touched upon that. Mitch, do you want to give a brief explanation again of going back? So taking the flag, your point of entry, and straight back on that line?
Yeah, so it's a line. So you find, first thing you do is you find your point of entry, and then you go in line from the flag, through that point of entry, back on a line straight back, as far back as you want. You can go back if that spot can take you back to the fairway. You're free to do that. Okay, on a yellow, you can do that on a yellow hazard, or sorry, yellow penalty area. They're called penalty areas, not hazards anymore. Yellow penalty area or red penalty area. On the one I showed, I was on 11. The last video I showed, I was on 11. And that you could have gone back around the corner there, keeping the flag, my point of entry, and that line. It would have been, the video didn't show it from the angle there, but you could have done that. You could have done that also. Part of my, I did say that I didn't, and the video had the sound in there. I did touch on that. So that's you can do. On a yellow penalty area, it's very easy to do, because the yellow areas are usually the ones crossing the fairway. The red areas are usually the ones that are lateral to the fairway. So that's why they have different options.
And Mitch is absolutely right about that. But I know when I've played where we end up sometimes taking that ball straight back on those lines, takes you over to another hole, but it's always a good option to keep in mind, because it definitely opens up some new shots for everybody to try out. Can you explain what the options for what to do if you hit a ball very right onto the hill on number 7 or number 13? You might not find it. It is not red staked. Mitch, did you want to take that over? So we have two. I'm not sure if you're completely familiar with the areas yet, but on 7 and 13.
I think they are red staked. I think
on the hill. So let's provide the unstaked lost ball rule.
Okay, so if they're okay, yeah, no, they're right. Okay, so if there's no stake, then you would proceed under on the lost ball rule on rule 18. Okay, so the options. All right, should we? I'm not going to touch on the local rule just yet, because that's not official. There is a local rule that might be adopted for lost ball and out of bounds, but that's not that's still in the discussion stages. Which would let you play from where the ball is lost, but with a 2-stroke penalty instead of a 1-stroke penalty. That's not official yet. So if there is no stakes and the ball is lost, you proceed under rule 18. You must play back from where you made your original stroke. So that would be back at the tee or wherever you made the stroke that lost the ball. Okay.
Yeah, so it's a rehitting of your shot, and if you hit that ball into that area where you have a feeling you're not going to be able to find the ball, a provisional ball isn't a bad idea. Anytime that you suspect that you may have a lost ball.
That hill, yeah, okay,
you
yeah, I
can
know,
play that.
okay, the hill to the right, yeah, okay, because there's a creek, the creek goes on, no, that would be a lost ball, that would be, yeah, I know what, okay, I know what you mean, between 7 and 13 there, those bushes and on the side of the hill, I think is what you mean, yeah. That would be
And
lost ball.
you did an excellent job at explaining that. So yeah, any time that happens where you suspect it might be a lost ball, it is not staked. That's just unfortunately a lost ball. That's the penalty that we all dread in golf, and that's the one where we're re-hitting our previous shot, stroke and distance. So, for example, on hole 7, if you hit your tee shot in there, you would be hitting 3 off the tee. Like Mitch said, there's maybe some future information coming about local rules, but that's not official yet, as those are local to each individual club. If there's no other questions coming in, I want to thank everybody for their time today. There's so much that we can do with this, but feel free when we are back open again to approach any of us. We can go through some rules stuff. I know a lot of this is much easier on course in certain situations, but never hesitate to approach any of our staff with any questions regarding any of this information. It's stuff that we're always happy to help with. And if we don't know the answer on the spot, we can look into it, or we can provide you with direction to the correct sources. So once again, thank you all for your time today. Thank you for sitting in and listening to us kind of give you our thing on formatting, handicapping, and rules. I hope everybody has a fantastic week and fantastic weekend. Hope to see everyone back at the golf course soon, and we'll see everyone for Golf Talk Live next week. All right. Bye, everyone.